Hi guys, welcome to part 4 of this series. Today I'm going to be talking about my top 10 tips that I recommend for anyone working in tech or who is in this business. And I think learning how to Google or knowing how to Google is an invaluable skill, and my go-to search engines for this is Google itself. So for example, you can say search for say hello plus Linux plus shell script, type shell script here, and there we go. And my other tool is DuckDuckGo, and with the same thing I can say hello plus Linux plus shell script again, for example, and there we go. They just return results differently. So sometimes I find that DuckDuckGo does a better job, sometimes I find that Google does a better job. But these are my two go-to tools that I use for when I want to search information and just look up stuff, errors and stack traces that I may run into as I'm working. Second is don't be hung up on frameworks. They change all the time. So if you hop on to Google again and just search the top 10 frameworks for 2020, I'm going to get that list. But last year probably was different, or 2 years ago it was different. And just looking at this list, I can tell you now from these items alone, I mean things like Java, C Sharp are not here. And those are common in the enterprise or corporate businesses. We use those tools a lot. So already, don't be hung up on these things. They change all the time. What's important is knowing the fundamentals, and from here on you can adopt any framework anytime. And this is why reading in tech is very important. You should love doing that, and you should enjoy reading and looking up new information. Second is avoid tutorial hell. So pick a problem, get the tutorial that will help you solve it. This one speaks about I find people who just get into tutorials and just watch and watch and watch, binge watch tutorials like Netflix with movies and series, and it doesn't work well with tech. It's more like if you want to know how to do something, rather go to Udemy, for example, and go to a course. And then actually, let's say you're setting up a network in your house, and just say how to set up a network or something, right? And you'll find a whole bunch of courses here, and then just essentially the point is pick a course and then see how that will help you with the problem at hand, or how to create WPF applications. You can just search for the course here, WPF application, and see what these sites will bring up for you, and then use that rather than just going and watching videos on videos on videos. It really gets you nowhere. It's not valuable at all. And then my other tip is, tip number 4 is pair with your colleagues, friends, or whoever. You will learn much faster. So in programming, there is something called pair programming that you can look up here, where essentially two programmers are solving a problem together. One grabs the keyboard, other one looks at the code, and together you guys are just trying to figure this thing out. And I found that works really, really well in terms of learning and also knowledge sharing. The other one that's not as common is, I think it's called mob programming. Now this is talking about a whole team that is essentially looking at code, and one person is coding, and you got like more than two people essentially looking at this thing. The other thing is also just presenting the work you do to your little brother, little sister, or anyone in the family, just to talk them through the kind of problem you're solving. It really helps you understand what you are learning much better. And yeah, that's about it with that one. And share with colleagues as well. So pair programming really works well. Have pet projects. Those things come in handy. I found this really working well, especially when you're learning new things. What I do have is I've got a GitLab repo where I create these funny projects and so on with my mate here, where we do some work together. And over the weekend I was messing around with one of my friends. He wanted some help, and we quickly just spun that up. and also a simple WPF application, nothing fancy in here. Just some boilerplate code, and I see I did this some 10 hours ago. So it's just for people who want to understand WPF applications. So this is my go-to place for creating pet projects. These things really come in handy when you are trying to solve a problem at work. Some of the code you might find that you've written before, and it's a matter of just taking it and implanting it into your solution at work or for any other project you might be working on. Next is tech short breaks, the Pomodoro Technique. Now this technique I read about some time ago, and the Pomodoro Technique, if you just quickly do a Google search on that, it will come up, and there we go. I'll use this thing, that little timer, where you can set up whatever timer and you hit start. So this really helps with focusing, making sure that you don't overextend yourself, because 25 to 45 minutes working time is sufficient, and take breaks. You'll be surprised how much faster you solve problems by taking those short breaks. I recommend you do a little research and homework on this technique. It can work for a lot of other use cases, not just in tech. And the next tip is have a mentor. This one, I think it's underrated. I think everyone should just try to get a mentor. And the way you go about this, the way I would recommend is, don't like go to someone and say, be my mentor. Just look up to someone, and that person that you feel is who you aspire to be like, or want to follow in their footsteps or improve on, you just follow them, ask them questions, and before you know it, they're essentially becoming your mentor without them even knowing really. It's someone who you just interact with, who you trust to share your career path or aspirations, just because they're in the same or similar field as you. Sometimes they are not, but they can help you think and figure out your way in life. I mean, I have one, and this has greatly improved my career in terms of growth and also learning new things. The next one is have a life coach. This one I find it a little bit different to a mentor. Mentor are mainly used for a career, and a life coach is basically everything to do with life besides just work. So whether you've made a new partner, you've learned a new skill, you want to go hiking, holiday destinations, what's happening with your family, if you have any challenges in your family or things are going well in your family, and the like. And these people will kind of help you just live life so that you don't just like eat, breathe, work. You kind of have that work-life balance, and these people will not only have the experience, and they can help you just come back to earth and realize that there's more to life than just tech and work at the end of the day, and they'll help you give you that balance. This has really helped me a lot as well to just spread my wings and live life and still enjoy it while I do what I love, and explore other ventures, learn new skills. So this is a really awesome one that's underrated as well, I think. Next is demo or teach the work you do. So with this one, anything you do, so just like with the pair programming, is if you learned how to write a shell scripts that prints hello, you can show it off to someone and show them the work that you've done, and explain to someone how it works, what it's actually doing, what motivated you to solve the problem. And I think also this solidifies your learning and also shows off that you're making progress. Sometimes it can be someone who's senior to you that you demo to, and they can share some tips. Sometimes it's someone who's your minor, whom you need to explain to, so they understand exactly what you're working on. That way it proves that you are able to do this. So I think it's a quote by Einstein that says, if you can't explain it to a 5-year-old, then you don't know this yourself. Next is document the work that you do. Yeah, so if you document, your future self will thank you. With this one, I like to document a lot because I know my future self thanks me a lot. I've got an example over here where I think it's this one where I really enjoy documenting. It's a simple project really that I created some months ago, and I documented how you run the app and how you set it up. And even for me, sometimes when I format my machine, I need to get this program going again, I always thank myself for this documentation, the resources I used. And do this with almost anything you work on, because your colleagues and your future self will thank you for it. And I think these are the top 10 tips, and I hope you find one of these useful. Good luck and happy learning.